These are two hyphen operators. So let's see this program, how it works. Okay, I'll just copy from this one for a quick execution. Okay, let's go to our project demo session, December 2022. I will come to this source folder, source directory. I will right click this. Okay, so let's say new Java class. Okay, so let's give it a name, operators demo. Fine. So now we have this class with operators demo name. Okay, and we have a method public static void main string arguments. Okay, fine. So guys, if you just try to think how to write a function in Java, right? I'm just combining two things now, please don't mind. So I will explain you what I'm doing. So what we can do, how to write a function in Java, you are able to see the very basic function, which is the starting point of execution of a program, is the main function. How you write it? You write the access specifier first. It's like it is public, right? If I make it private, then this will be accessible inside this class only. Okay, but main function is always public because it should be accessible from any class. Okay, from any other class that is the part of scope of any member function or member variable. Okay, so now if it is public and static, so it can be accessed from other class, right? Because it is static. uh, that is like static, non-static things are there in Java. Basically static things have a wider scope, wider accessibility. Okay, it's like you can access uh, the method with the help of class name, which is static. Okay, fine. Now let's not dive deep into the static part. Okay, but just think of it's like the accessibility is easy with the help of static. Okay, and there is a return type. Is this function returning anything? If you see, is there any return keyword mentioned in the scope of this function? The scope of this function is basically from this curly brace to this curly brace. Okay, and there is no return keyword mentioned here. Okay, so if I mention like this, return, okay, means we are trying to return some value. Now what is returning a value from a function? Basically you have a calculator, right? You are pressing the key on the calculator 1, and then you press plus, right? Plus icon or plus sign on, plus sign button on the calculator, and then you again press 1, and then you say equals to. Okay, so you have pressed some operators there. Okay, the value that you are expecting is 2, so that value is returned from the addition operation, right? So if I write a function here, that is public void add, fine, then this is the signature of the function. We will complete it. It is not complete yet. Then two circular braces. Okay, and then curly braces. So curly braces mention the scope of this function. Okay, and this specifies the access. The access to this function is public or private. Okay, and then are you trying to return any value from this function? So that is mentioned as void because this function is not returning anything. Okay, it will perform the steps that you want to perform, like addition. So what addition you are trying to do? You are trying to add two numbers. Okay, two variables you will pass, two arguments, you can say arguments you will pass to this add function. Okay, so what will be there? Int basically the number, the numeric data type without any fraction, right? no decimal point. So the whole number, that will be number 1. Okay, just the argument name is number 1, comma, int number 2. Very simple function, just addition we want to perform. So for addition, we have which operator? So we will say int sum. Okay, sum is the variable name where we will store the result. Okay, or we can simply say result. You can give any variable name. It should be just in a standard format, starting with small case letter. Okay, because it's a local variable to this function. Okay, result equals to number 1 plus number 2 semicolon. Now, what is semicolon in Java? It is a terminator. Okay, you are telling the compiler that this statement is terminated when you mention the semicolon here. Okay, so now the addition of these two numbers, number 1 plus number 2. Okay, so it should be number 2 here. Okay, number 2 will be stored in this result. So this is the, basically the relational operator. Okay, I mean, you can just read this here. So the exact name for assignment, assignment operator, right? So this is the assignment operator. So ideally it should be number 2. Okay, so now what is going to happen? We are going to use this function. Okay, and we are going to call this function. Okay, so from this main function we will call this add function. Okay, so one function can be called from another function. Okay, this will become a single step. Okay, this function will become a single step inside the main function. So we will say add 1 comma 2. Okay, and we will put a semicolon. Okay, now why we are getting the error add? Okay, so you see, non-static method add cannot be referenced from static context. So context means what? Context means basically the scope in which we are talking about something, or we are currently referring that. Okay, so the context here is starting from this curly braces to this curly braces, basically the scope. Okay, this is a static scope, this is a static context. Okay, so only static things can be accessed or used inside the static scope. Okay, so this is a static scope, you can see here. Okay, public static void, basically we are not returning anything from main function, so hence we are using void. Okay, void is a keyword in Java that we mention before the function name. Okay, here you mention before the function name that you are not returning anything from this function. Okay, but we will return something from this add function, so we will use a return keyword. Okay, return result semicolon. Okay, so now you are getting error with the add function. So you will solve this problem by changing the data type, that is the return type of this function add. Okay, so we will say int. Okay, now how to solve this problem of add? Okay, so we will use the static keyword here also, public static. Okay, solving the problem of add now. Okay, it was earlier in a highlighted red, I mean underlined with a red line. Okay, so what I did, I just added a static keyword here in the signature of this function. Okay, signature of this function, I'm just adding a keyword static that will solve this problem. Okay, so this function will become static, and as this function has now become static, this can be accessed inside the main function. Okay, and we are not returning anything from the main function, so we are writing void here, and we have written int here in this function signature because we are returning a int result. Okay, that is the int data type variable value we are returning from this function, and hence we have returned int before the add, that is add is the method name. Okay, so how you are going to write the signature of this function? So signature is basically public, the access specifier, that is public. Fine. Then you have the static, non-static. So we will say static. Okay. We can say this is also access modifier. Okay. And you have the return type. We can also take this command and we can mention here. Okay. Return type and then the function name. Okay. And then the arguments. So argument 1 comma argument 2. Okay. So this is how this function signature can be mentioned. Okay. So first you have access specifier, that is public, then access modifier, that is static. Okay. And then return type, that is int, and you have this function name, that is add, and then the argument 1 comma argument 2. Okay, these are the values that you are going to pass to this function add, like this. So this is a function call. Okay, so this is add function call. How are you going to call a function? Inside a method scope. So one function is called inside another function. Okay, you cannot directly write the function call in the scope of class. So this is the scope of class, right? From this curly brace to this curly brace. This is not the way to call a function. You cannot write like int sum equals to add 1 comma 2. So this is like used inside this, but but there is no use of, sorry for the inconvenience. So you cannot this is not a valid way. I mean, it's fine, but the problem here is there is no use of this sum as of now, and it's always a good idea to call the function inside another function, because that is like, that way we know that from where which function is being called, right? It helps in stack trace, right? Maybe this might be a valid way of writing because the compiler is not giving any error, but during the stack trace or the initialization part, like when this sum is being used, so that we don't know, we are not sure about when this sum value will be initialized. Okay, so the valid way, or we can say the standard way of accessing a function, is always inside another function. Okay, or in a static code block. Okay, so we will talk about that in future sessions. Okay, so let's say we have a int sum equals to this, so you can write like this. Okay, so you will collect the sum of addition. I will give it a good name, addition. Okay, and addition, we will change the name here also. So this is addition function call. Fine. We are performing the addition of 1 comma 2. Okay. So sum equals to 1 comma 2. We should get a value that is 3. Okay. Sum equals to 3. So this is my variable where I'm storing the addition of these two numbers. Fine. Okay. Let's move ahead. One more thing I'll do here now. I will say sum equals to sum plus plus. Fine. Okay, or let's do this way, plus plus. Okay, so this should make the value 4. Okay, this is how the the operators are used, or composite. I mean, this will increment the value of sum by 1. Okay, incrementing value by of sum by 1 equals to 4. Fine. Okay, fine. And we will print. So system dot out dot println. We will print the sum. Fine. Value of sum. So I have selected this much text. Now I'll press shift and colon so that this gets covered inside the string. That is a shortcut. Okay. And you can say concatenation operator, then the value of sum. Okay. Fine. I will explain you everything what is happening here. Okay. So let's do one thing. Let's not make this program complex. I'm already performing these operations, right? That plus plus. Okay, fine. So what we'll do, we will remove this. Okay, and we will make this program easier. Okay, then what we'll do, we will make like sum equals to uh, minus minus sum. Okay, so it's like addition will take place here. Okay, with this function 1 plus 2 equals to 3, then this should make it 4. Okay, then we are again decrementing the value. Then this is very common, operator that is used in Java, decrementing value of sum by 1, so it will be 3. Fine. So now again let's print it out. S out sum, and we can simply use this line again. Sum. Fine. Again we are printing the sum, so let's take it again. So the scope of this function main is ending here, so we can say end of main. Okay, and here it is end of addition. Fine. Now what else? We have seen one example of if else condition yesterday. We will cover it more today. Okay, we can also do one, write one function for modulus operator. So let's run this code first. Okay, so we have this run button here, so let's press this. If you guys are doing alongside me, then I think we should get the same results. Okay, so what is happening here we can see now. Okay, so what we did basically, we first perform the addition. Okay, so what is a function? It's a procedure. Okay, this procedure of addition is happening inside this function. Okay, this is a separate scope of code. Okay, so what will happen in this code, basically we have created a operators demo.java program file, and this is the class of that. Okay, class is the parent scope of this complete code. Okay, inside that we have written a main function. Okay, inside the main function we are calling another function, that is addition. Okay, and we have created a value variable to store the value of that addition. So basically inside this addition function we are passing two values, 1 comma 2. Both are integer values. Okay, you can see here int number 1. So what will happen, this 1 will get stored, will get passed to this number 1 variable, and this 2 will get passed to this number 2 variable. Okay, so 1 comma 2 will be the values inside these arguments. Okay, so we have these two arguments, okay, inside this static function. Okay, and then int result equals to number 1 plus number 2. Okay, we are returning the result, hence we have a int data type here. Okay, and then we are printing the sum that we have collected here. Okay, so we have printed value of sum equals to 3. Okay, that is coming from this. Okay, next printing line, so we have done plus plus sum. Okay, so before assigning the value of sum to this sum. So we can do like this. Okay, this is a valid operation. So what we can do, we can also remove like this because it's fine. Okay, so sum plus plus sum should get the same result. Okay, then minus minus sum. So now this minus minus sum is basically decrementing the value again from 4 to 3. Okay, so 3 is printed. So I can also do like this. Fine. So what will happen? Let's see. I will run the complete class. So you guys can see still the operation is same. So what is this operation actually? So this operation is basically sum equals to sum minus 1. Fine. This is the operation that is happening here. Okay, this operation. Sum equals to sum minus 1. So basically, initially we have the value of sum is equals to 3, right? Then this operation takes place, that is sum equals to sum plus 1. Okay, fine. This is the operation that is being performed with this line. Okay, so we will remove this. Okay, fine. So this increases the value of sum and this decreases the value of sum. Fine. This is how you use these operators and play around them. Okay, let's see one function how we can write for modulo operator. Okay, so we can write another basic function, right? So public static int get remainder. Okay, get remainder means what is the remainder? I mean, when you divide some number, you can get the division value, right? You can get the result. But what if you want, I mean, if there is a remainder, right? How many times it was divisible by that, you can get it, right? But what was the remainder of that? So we can do like that. Okay, so let me just show you. So we have this mind here. What will be the two values we will pass? Basically, if I want to do like 10 mod 2, what happens when I divide the number 10? What is the remainder? Okay, so we will see that. So let's say int number 1, comma, int number 2. Fine. So int remainder. Inside this function, I will define a new variable equals to number 1 mod number 2. Okay, so this is a modulus operator. Let's see what is the result of this operator. Okay, and so what we can do also, instead of returning a value, we can print here also. So s out tab, and then you have the value remainder. Okay, so let's say the string, the sorry, the remainder of 10 by 2 is, okay, the value here will get printed. So we add a concatenation operator to combine these two things, that is the string and the remainder. Fine, pretty much easy. Okay, so this will print our value. So we are not returning anything from this function. So when you don't return anything from a function, okay, in that case, basically you don't need to write int here. There is no return type needed. Okay, when you are not returning anything from the function, if you write a return type, what value you want to get, what type of data you are going to get from this procedure or function, you need to mention that. Okay, otherwise you will get an error, missing return statement. Okay, so missing return statement, you will need to return something from this function, else make it void. Okay, you need to make it void. Okay, this way it is a correct mention or correct syntax, I would say. Okay, so we will call this function from the main function. Okay, so this is the scope of main function. We will write here get remainder. Okay, so I will say 10 comma 2, 10 mod 2. Oh, let's see what is the value. Okay, so get remainder or perform modulo operation can be the name of this function actually. So we are writing get. So what we can do, we will still return some value. Okay, because it's having get means we are getting something from a function. So for a standard practice, we will return remainder. Okay, so there's no use of anything returning here, but just to honor the name of this function. Okay, so let's run this program now. Okay, so you see there's zero remainder when you divide 10 by 2. Okay, so when you divide a number by another number, there is always some remainder, right? So is it 0, 1? That you can check, right? So if I do 10 mod 10, okay, what happens now? So let's see what happens now. Are we going to get 1 or 0? So we got 0 because exactly 10 can be divided by 10. Okay, but what happens when I do 10 mod 9? Okay, when 10 is divided by 9, is it exactly divisible by 10 or not? Like 10 can be divided by 9 or not, and are those exactly divisible numbers, right? So we can check that. And what is the use of this modulo operator here? What is exactly, I mean, very basic use that you can do? Can anybody answer that in the chat window? The very basic use of this modulo operator. Can you think about the usage of this modulo operator? I will read the answer from the chat window. Okay, fine. I'll tell you. Even odd, while just thinking about even odd numbers, right? The number divisible by 2 is even, right? The number not divisible by 2 is odd. So when you get the, basically we can say get even number, the name of this function, like check the number is even or not, right? If it is, the remainder is 0. Okay, so let's add a if condition and we will print that. Okay, so let's add a if condition. If remainder equals to 0, fine, then print system dot out dot println the number is even. Okay, else, fine, else will come after this scope of if. Okay, else print. So else will also have a scope. It's a standard practice to give the curly braces for the scope of code. Okay, so we will write system dot out dot println the number is odd. Okay, and you can also give a condition at else. So you can write like else if, you can write like this also, else if remainder equals to 1. Okay, or we can say greater than equals to 1. Fine, either it could be 1 or greater than equals to 1. Fine, so it's not 0, so obviously it can be greater than equals to 0 also. Fine, we can write like this, greater than, then we'll need to write greater than only. Okay, because we have already covered the condition of equals to 0 here. Okay, So equals to 0 will check whether the remainder is 0 or not. Fine. And here remainder is greater than 0 basically checks that the remainder is not 0. Fine. So system.out.println, the number is odd. So basically 10 mod 2, 10 is an even number because we will get remainder 0. And if we try with 13 mod 2, then we will say that the number is odd. Okay, so let's try that out. So if I write 10 mod 2 here, okay, and I will also print the numbers. Okay, so we will print number 1. Okay, the number, and we will add a fine, the number 1 that is even. Okay, we will write like this. Okay, and here we will write like is odd. Okay, so we are checking in this function, that is get remainder function. Okay, and we will give it a good name. Okay, so I will remove the number 2 now. Okay, and we will simply say check or we can give it a name like is even, right? So we can return true or false. Okay, so we can write like this, and that I can directly write like number 1 mod 2. Okay, mod 2 is basically 2 is a digit that we have written here. Okay, so check if number is even, so we are giving a name is even. Okay, so number, int number, I'll keep it the variable name or argument name as number 1 only. Fine. So if you just look at this function now, public static int, so instead of int we will return a boolean value, boolean, right? Now what we are going to do, we will define a boolean variable here. Okay, so boolean, basically boolean is even or is number even will be the function name, let's say, and is even equals to false. Okay, we will by default make it false, and we will have this value updated inside this. Okay, if remainder equals to 0, then print the number is even. Okay, and we will also return the value that return is even. Fine, equals to true. Or simply let's not return here, we'll update the value of is even, and here also we will make it is even equals to false. Fine, and we will return the value that is even. Fine, so this function will return the value, boolean value is number even. Okay, so instead of writing like this, we can write like is even, and we will write like we will pass the number 10. Okay, so for 10 this will print, and even you know what we can do, we cannot return some value, we can simply write void. Okay, so let's not return anything, let's just check. Okay, so is number even? So we will pass 10, so 10 we should get the number 10 is even. Okay, and if we pass number 13, okay, then we should get odd. Okay, the number is odd. Fine, let's run this program now. Okay, okay, you can see, okay, pardon me, the value that is actually what I should have done, I should have updated this string also, the remainder of plus. Okay, and here also a plus sign and double quotes, and here it should be number 1. Fine. Okay, so we will give some space so that this gets print. Actually, this is looking incorrect, right? So let's run this again. Fine. Now what is on the console? First of all, these operations of additions are performed, right? Then the remainder of 10 by 2 is 0. Fine. The number 10 is even. And then the remainder of 13 by 2 is 1. The number 13 is odd. Okay. So that is the result that we were expecting, right? So the operation is working successfully. We are checking that the number is even or odd. Fine. So that is what we have learned today about the operators. Okay. The if else condition you can see here. Okay. The if else condition is also working fine. Remainder is greater than 0. Then we are printing the number is odd. Okay. The remainder is equals to 0. Then we are printing the number is even. Fine. That is how the things work in functions, if else condition, and the operators. Okay. So there is a lot more to explore, a lot more to explain, a lot more to learn. So we will continue the learning tomorrow. Thank you for joining today. Let's have the quick Q&A session now. If you guys have any questions, I will definitely try to answer them. Okay. Thank you.